Directed by Sean James Grant and Jim Loach, Criminal Record made a promising start and made us privy to the life of DS June Lenker, who found herself entangled in a system that had its own vices. DS June Lenker's life was going very smoothly until the day she got a case, which changed everything. She always knew that corruption, racism, and bureaucracy were inevitable parts of the entire setup, and at times one had to just give in to survive. But she still didn't bow down as she got personally attached to the case. So let's find out what kind of challenges June had to encounter and if she was able to make a breakthrough in the case. DCI June Lenker got to know that there was a call made by a probable victim who wanted the police to come and save her from her boyfriend. This girl was so scared that she didn't give her or her boyfriend's name to Jasmine, the emergency call responder who picked up her call that night. This anonymous girl abruptly left the phone booth from where she was calling and went away, as someone probably came there. Now, the first thought that came to June's mind was whether it was a fake call or that girl was actually in trouble. In such cases, where there was so little evidence to prove what the girl was saying was true or not, the police generally did not proceed with the investigation. That's what June's boss also told her, but that girl said something that hooked June, and she just couldn't leave the case hanging. The anonymous caller said that her boyfriend, who was threatening to kill her, had murdered his ex-girlfriend, and the police had framed another guy for the crime, who was at that moment in prison serving a sentence of 24 years. Now, the reason June felt even more compelled to investigate the case was because Jasmine told her with a lot of conviction that the caller wasn't doing any prank. Jasmine said that for 18 years she had been working in the system, and she could differentiate a prank call from a proper one. June Lenker took out the list of all the prisoners who matched the information given to her by the caller, and she found a guy named Errol Mathies, whom she believed to be the person who was framed. June found out that DCI Daniel Hegarty was the one who was in charge of the case, and she asked her boss if she could have a quick word with him and find out more about the case. The moment June took Daniel's name, there was a weird look on Roy's face, and that's where it became evident that there was something that he knew that he didn't tell June about. He asked June not to go and meet him personally, but to drop an email and wait for his response. But June didn't listen to him, and she went to meet Daniel Hegarty with the hope of finding out the truth. At the beginning of Criminal Record Episode 1, we saw Daniel Hegarty driving an elite couple to a party. He told them that he worked with the police department and how back in the day he had witnessed all sorts of horrifying things. Daniel looked like a dangerous man from that very moment, and this perception proved to be right the moment June Lenker went to meet him in his office. Daniel denied any foul play, and he said that he was very sure that Errol Mathies had committed the crime in cold blood. He told June that Errol was serving a 24-year sentence because the boy of the woman he killed, named Patrick, who was 6 years old at the time, saw him doing the act. Daniel was quite rude to June, and he made sure that she felt that. He called her an amateur and asked her to stop meandering in places where she shouldn't be. He also told her that he knew that she had been there without telling her boss, and that from now on, she should listen to him and drop an email before coming to his office unannounced. June Lenker, at that moment in Criminal Record Episode 1, knew that Daniel was not the savior and humanitarian he was pretending to be, and there was something that he was hiding. The very next day, Diane Markham from the Professional Standards Department arrived at June's department and informed her that her login details had been blocked as they randomly conducted a check on police officers, and they found her trying to access some database, which she wasn't authorized to do. June knew that it was Daniel's way to threaten her and tell her that he could sabotage her career if she crossed the line. But June had dealt with such bullies before, and she was not going to get intimidated by him. June Lenker found out about the lawyer named Sonia Singh, who handled Errol's case from the very beginning, and through her she got to know about certain things that happened during the trial. Sonia told her that during the trial, the prosecution called for a star witness named Dr. Hoshi, who confirmed that the bite marks on the victim's body matched Errol's dental structure, and it could be said beyond any doubt that he was responsible for it. But later, Sonia did some crowdfunding and approached another expert, who told her that it was absolutely false and that a conviction on the basis of that evidence was not right. But Errol did confess to his crimes, which once again made things a bit complicated for June. She heard his confession time and again in the hope of finding out something that the defense counsel missed back then, but unfortunately she couldn't. In Criminal Record Episode 1, we saw that Errol tried to talk to Patrick, but the latter just didn't want to talk to him. It felt like Errol was grieving, and I am personally very sure that he was framed by Daniel and others who conspired with him. Sonia told June that Daniel, together with Tony Guilfoyle and Kim Cardwell, had a group called The Crew, and they were infamously known for doing certain acts that branded them as white supremacists. Everybody knew about it, but nobody talked since Daniel was not the kind of man one wanted to mess with. Sonia told June that she always thought that Daniel had some vendetta, which is why he framed Errol. June had met Daniel only once, but it was enough to prove that he was a racist man. The problem was that she didn't have evidence to prove her point. At the end of Criminal Record Episode 1, Jasmine told June that the anonymous woman had called her again, and she was on the line. The woman's name was Maria De Souza, and she told June that she was very frightened and that she had locked herself in the washroom since her boyfriend was outside threatening to kill her. June told Maria to just be there for a few more minutes as she was reaching the specified location. But Maria told her that she wouldn't be able to hold out for long, and that's when June advised her to take a key or any such object, hit her boyfriend on the face, and then run from there. But the poor girl wasn't able to defend herself. In front of June Lenker, she was pushed from her apartment, and she couldn't survive the fall. June felt distraught, and she rushed upstairs to find the guy and take him into custody. She entered the house, and that's when a huge man arrived there, and they entered into a fight. June tried her level best to stop that man until reinforcements came, but he was too big for her. June was lucky that she survived that fight, as looking at the fierce blows that man was belting, it felt like he was in a mood to not leave her alive. June was brought to the hospital, and that's when she told Roy Chambers who the man was. His name was Clive Silcox, and he had been charged many times in the past with various offences, but he always found a way out and was never convicted. Clive was a part of a right-wing extremist group, and he was on the run. Now, before June could find any more leads, she was informed by Roy Chambers that there had been a development in the case, and DCI Hegarty had taken matters into his own hands. When June reached the scene, she was told by Hegarty that Clive was already a part of an ongoing investigation where he had assaulted a woman 8 months ago, and so the two cases were clubbed together. June told Hegarty that since she was the first responder, she should have been looped in before he took any decision, and as always, in a condescending manner, Hegarty very subtly showed her place and told her not to cross her line. June understood that, till the time he was at the helm of affairs, he wouldn't let her do anything. June used her own sources to find a woman named Dawn Taylor, and when she reached her place, she realized that Clive Silcox was up there. Dawn Taylor was petrified, and she made a gesture telling June to leave immediately, as Clive had probably held her mother at gunpoint. June went to her car and asked for reinforcement, but before anyone could come, she saw some commotion happening inside the house. June went inside alone, and she not only saved Dawn Taylor and her mother, but also caught Clive Silcox and brought him into custody. Though nothing has been explicitly told until Criminal Record Episode 2, I personally believe that Daniel Hegarty knew that he had the wrong man, Errol Mathis, and that it was Silcox or someone else who had murdered Adelaide Burrows. Obviously, he didn't accept that in front of June, and he made sure that she was not able to find the truth. Firstly, he said that the Hayes Street caller and Maria, the one who died, weren't the same people, and for the longest time, he didn't agree to get a forensic test done on the voice samples. Hegarty came to June's department to relay the information that Silcox confessed to his crimes and that Maria's body was already dispatched to her hometown. He told Roy and June that it was the best case scenario, especially for the victim's family, as they would be saved from the hassle of a court case. But June knew that the entire process was being expedited by Hegarty to save himself, as he knew that if June found out anything that led to him, then his entire life would be destroyed. In a scene in Episode 2, we saw him talking to Kim Cardwell and asking him to find out any loose ends that they might have left back in the day, just so that he was a step ahead of June. Daniel Hegarty was a master planner, and he laid a trap for June. The poor woman walked right into it, underestimating how dangerous the old wolf could get. Firstly, Hegarty fast-tracked the forensics report of the voice samples and tampered with it. He then allowed June to take an interview with Silcox, but told her that the only condition was that she couldn't refer to Adelaide Burrows' case directly. June agreed, but she couldn't stop her impulses, and she ended up showing Silcox Adelaide's pictures, which was when Gearing stopped the interview and took her out. It was then that Hegarty played his master move and told Roy Chambers and June that he had gone the extra mile and got the forensic test done, which proved that the Hayes Lane woman and the one who was murdered were not the same. June had no option other than to accept her defeat, and it killed her from within to see Hegarty win. But a twist came in the end when Chloe told her about the rumors of the forensics report being tampered with, and that gave June a little bit of hope. June had already found out that Errol and Clive knew each other from before, as they went to the same school. Errol's cousin liked Clive's sister, but they didn't marry because Doris didn't approve of the relationship. Errol's mother had problems with the family. June knew that, apart from Sonia Singh, she couldn't trust anybody as of now. Now, June still had the screenshot of the CCTV camera footage where the Hayes Lane caller was seen leaving the phone booth. Sonia told her that the woman was alive and that she held the key to Errol's freedom. Both the women joined forces and secretly started their investigation to prove to the system that they didn't have an unconscious bias or prejudice. In the upcoming episodes, we will learn what Hegarty does next and if June is able to learn the tricks of the trade and get the better of him.